Hey there, and welcome to Geek Pizza, a slice of life. I'm your host, Nathaniel, storyteller, gamer, soldier, to lifelong geek. Here at Geek Pizza, we're going to talk about everything from movies, video games, tabletop adventures, and folklore, myths and legends. Each week, we're going to serve up a fresh slice of geek culture with a few extra toppings of history along the way. And before we dig into today's slice, South of Midnight, I want to tell you a bit about who's behind the mic. I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for 25 years now. My first game of Dungeons & Dragons was way back in 2nd edition, and man, I was hooked. The moment I rolled my first set of dice, the idea that I could build a story, that I could be the hero, the scoundrel, the villain, completely changed my world. Back then, I didn't even like to read. But I joined the army, had to stay up all night several nights, picked up a book, Cleric Quintet, R.A. Salvador. And man, that door got blown open. I love to read. Suddenly, the world of Forgotten Realms came to life. Dark elves, dwarfs, elves, battles, heroes, they all filled my imagination. And I dove head first. And I ain't come back up for air yet. Now, 28 years into my army career, I'm still rolling dice. I'm still telling stories. I host my own D&D game every other week. We're going to be using the 2024 rules. Created a few toppings, some house rules that I'm going to use on my own. Outside of gaming, I spent my life helping people, working both in a sheriff's office and with the U.S. Army. I think that's part of what draws me to storytelling. Stories help people. They remind us of who we are, where we came from, sometimes what we're still fighting for. I grew up in the Appalachians, surrounded by tales whispered across campfires and passed down like family recipes. People would say things. Don't you whistle in the woods at night. Don't you go following those lights in the holler. Those stories, they stuck with me. They weren't just superstitions. They were a way to survive. It was how our ancestors kept the world full of wonder, danger, and meaning. I can still feel that. I walk into the woods and I find that quiet place. It takes my breath away. It's like my ancestors are reaching back across time, whispering, "Remember us?" That feeling right there, that's magic. Real magic. So that's what Geek Pizza is all about. Finding the magic in stories, in games, in life. Every episode, we're going to explore a different slice of that magic. Whether it comes from movies, books, myths, video games, we're going to dive in. Now let's jump into our first new slice, where we talk about folklore, how it's making its comeback into geek culture. We're going to be starting with the hauntingly beautiful South of Midnight. Alright, now we're here for the new slice. Folklore. It's back on the menu. In today's new slice, I want to talk to you about something that's bubbling up across geek culture. Folklore. Not just the Greek gods, the Norse myths, that have been dominating for years, but a new wave of regional, soulful storytelling. From the Appalachians to the Deep South, we're seeing a kind of magic that feels earthbound, human, and haunting. And leading the charge right now is South of Midnight. Released earlier this year, South of Midnight takes us on a supernatural deep south where the old spirits and forgotten gods linger just out of sight. You take up the role of Hazel, a young woman who gains the power to weave between the worlds of the living and the dead. It has this stunning stop-motion inspired art style, feels just like a southern Gothic fever dream. And the soundtrack, man, it feels like it was recorded on the front porch at midnight. What really stands out to me, it's the tone. There's this blend of myth and melancholy that hits hard. It reminds us that magic and grief often walk hand in hand in the South. We may not have elves or dragons, but we got crossroad demons, haints, and ghosts that know your family name. You got a few new toppings here to delve out. We're going to do a deep dive into South of Midnight. Now that we dipped our toes in those swampy waters, let's take a deeper look. This game is more than just ghost and magic. There's real heart and research behind it. Impulsion Games, the studio behind South of Midnight, they didn't just pick the South and make it spooky. They traveled there. The developers took trips to Louisiana, parts of Appalachia. They studied the landscape, the architecture, the language, and even the way the air feels right before a storm. You know what I'm talking about. You get that smell in the air. It smells like home. They worked with local storytellers, historians, to make sure that the world wasn't just another backdrop, but it was alive. The porch paint, the bottle trees, the iron gates. Every detail carries some meaning. The art direction, they're using the stop motion technique, giving everything a handcrafted quality. Even the monsters feel personal. They aren't just scary for the sake of being scary. They come from pain, loss, and memory. Now you're playing as Hazel, a weaver who can see and manipulate the strands that bind the world together. Her enemies are called Haints, spirits twisted by sorrow and resentment. Instead of destroying them, Hazel can heal them, release them, often by finding what memory created that torment. The game's composer, Oliver Devier, sorry if I messed your name up, they used real southern blues and folk music, recorded with local artists. Every boss has a song written around their story. The music just doesn't set the mood, it tells the myth. And that's what I love about this game. It just doesn't use folklore, it respects it. The South has often been portrayed as a dark or backwoods in the media, but here it's treated as sacred and soulful. Underneath it all, South of Midnight is about memory, healing, and redemption. It asks the question, what does it mean to forgive the past when the past refuses to stay buried? And that's something that resonates far beyond the screen. Next segment, The Lantern Man of Mears Bend. This is one of my favorite parts. This is where we're going to talk about storytelling, tabletop role-playing, and how to bring that magic home to your own table. If South of Midnight stirred something in you, here's a story you can use for your next game, be it Dungeons & Dragons or whatever. The waters came fast that spring. Mears Bend, a quiet river town deep in the lowlands. It was the first to go under. The church steeple was the only thing left above the water, and the people who gathered there started praying for mercy. But not everyone made it to higher ground, and when the storm broke, the river ran back with silt and debris, and among it drifted a single lantern, burning bright against the dawn. Folks say they saw a man walking on the levees that night, his boots sinking into the mud, his lantern cutting through the fog. He was looking for something. Some said it was his wife. She was swept away when their house collapsed. Others said he wasn't looking, he was guarding. They call him the Lantern Man now. And if you walk those levees after dark, you might see him, his light bobbing in the mist. But don't you follow it. Don't you call out. You just turn around, you go home. Because if he mistakes your voice for hers, he's going to lead you into the river. And you'll join the ones that the current won't give back. You can easily turn this little story into any tabletop adventure you want. Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Monster of the Week. You can use the hook that Mears Bend is a half-drowned town haunted by its missing villagers. The survivors whisper about a light that walks the levees each night. The monster, that's going to be the Lantern Man. We can make him undead, we can make him fey. Kind of like the fey. He's going to have a couple special abilities. The lantern's glow. It's a magical light that charms anyone who sees it. The river's call. They could summon spectral hands that helps pull you under. And then bound by love, he can't rest until his wife's body's found and buried. That means he's going to come back. Or, if you want to use it for Monster of the Week, you can treat him like a revenant. His weakness is the truth about his death, and his moves will include offering false comfort and luring victims into the fog. I'll give you a couple of narration tips. Describes the wet earth, the smell of the rain, the soft flicker of light through the mist. Let those players of yours feel the grief hanging in the air. Now if they free them, reward them with something special, something symbolic. Maybe that lantern of his, maybe it flickers whenever spirits are nearby. Stories like this remind me that folklore isn't about the monsters. It's about the people left behind. That's what I love about games like South of Midnight. They don't just scare you, they make you feel. They make you think. So next time you sit down at your table, think about all the ghosts your world might still be holding on to. See what you can do. Now we're getting close to the end of this episode. I want to invite you to share bit of my own personal slice, a small taste of the world I've been building. Echoes of the Holler. It's my love letter to the Appalachian Mountains. Where I grew up, it has a mix of haunted realism and a touch of mythology. I don't want to spoil too much, but Echoes of the Holler takes place in a quiet mountain town that has its fair share of weird. It's a story about legacy, faith, and the thin places where our world brushes against something older. The story follows Eli, a man who is broken in his own way. What I love most about writing it is it lets me explore what I think folklore really is. Folklore isn't about fairy tales or far-off places. It's about how people make sense of the pain, love, and mystery in the world they live in. This world. Our world. It's how we pass down truth when the truth itself gets too heavy to carry alone. Every holler, every back road, every weather-worn church in Appalachia feels like it's hiding a story, and it's been waiting to tell. And that's what Echoes of the Holler is for me. A way to listen to the old voices again, and bring them into something new. So from time to time, here on Geek Pizza, I'll share a bit of that world, the myths, the monsters, maybe even an echo or two. Nothing that spoils the story, but just enough to give you a taste of the strange, beautiful mix of light and shadows that makes up the world I'm exploring. And if you've ever stood alone in the wood, felt the air shift, and knew you weren't quite alone, well, you understand the holler better than you think. Now that's going to wrap up our final slice of Geek Pizza. If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, tell me what you think. Share it with your fellow geeks, those who love folklore or good storytelling. Next time, we're going to keep that folklore flame burning, and we're going to talk about myths that evolve into pop culture. Maybe even explore a few creatures that deserve a little bit more time in the spotlight. Until then, keep your dice rolling, your pizza warm, and your stories alive. This has been Geek Pizza, a slice of life. I'm Nathaniel, and I'll see you next time.